The nanny of the bridesmaid has something to say. Is Meghan Markle seriously bullying a kid?
Markle and Kate Middleton were both moved to tears by their argument over Princess Charlotte's bridesmaid outfit.
But she went on to say, although we would have preferred them to remain full-time working members of the royal family.
Close is broken at the moment, and I think above all, William is very sad about that.
Harry and Meghan tried to negotiate several ways they could live their life while also being members of the royal family.
Fight yet, and how their kids are caught in the middle. The fight is alleged.
Radel, what I'm told is they're pretty much now living separate lives. He has her friends, he has his friends.
None of this is about us in public service. It's about the people that we serve.
The taxpayer-funded security for them. Concerns have been raised that if Prince Harry wins back the right...
And they're raising questions. You'll recall, obviously, that security has been one of the key things that Harry's...
being sued for defamation by the very charity he co-founded and was...
Of royal family members amid the turmoil over Prince Harry and Meghan's decision to step back from their royal
side to try and make some progress and hammer out the semblance or the start of some kind of deal.
He is saddened to learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan.
And she wants to help him. And she understands how difficult it is for people marrying him.
The Queen preaching unity as her own family braces for the potentially bombshell interview.
Really gonna be said in the interview that we're gonna go like, wow, okay, we didn't know that.
Might be taking photographs or, I don't know, recording or anything they might be doing, and she was,
Bombshell Harry and Meghan Oprah interview, an interview watched by 17.1.
For years, people focused on one question. Who made who cry? Was it Meghan? Was it Catherine? Was the famous bridesmaid dress dispute just another stressful royal wedding moment? Or was it the beginning of something much bigger inside the monarchy? But according to royal commentators like Charlotte Griffiths, the more revealing story may not be the argument itself. It may be what Queen Elizabeth quietly said afterward. And what those words revealed about the growing divide inside the royal family. If you want more deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe to Royal Archives. By the time Prince Harry and Meghan Markle married in May 2018, tensions inside the palace were already becoming difficult to hide. Publicly, everything still looked polished. Windsor Castle, the carriage procession, the music, the smiles. Millions watched around the world believing they were witnessing a modern fairy tale entering one of the oldest institutions on Earth. Behind closed doors, it was far more complicated. Years later, Harry and Meghan would describe that period as emotionally exhausting. Staff turnover began drawing headlines. Stories leaked into British tabloids almost weekly. And one incident, involving Princess Charlotte's bridesmaid dress fitting, slowly transformed into one of the most discussed moments in modern royal history. Meghan told Oprah Winfrey in 2021 that reports claiming she made Catherine cry were false. According to Meghan, it was actually the reverse. She said Catherine later apologized and brought flowers. Then Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, added another layer. Harry described tense text exchanges over the dresses just days before the wedding. He wrote that Meghan ended up on the floor sobbing from stress and pressure. Tailor Ajay Mirpuri later confirmed significant last-minute alterations were needed for all 6 bridesmaid dresses, adding credibility to the idea that tensions during that week were real and intense. Still, none of that fully explained why the situation seemed to leave such lasting damage between Meghan and Catherine. That's where royal commentators like Charlotte Griffiths began paying closer attention. Because according to several royal insiders and biographers, the Queen had reportedly become increasingly concerned about the atmosphere surrounding the younger royals during this period. Not angry, not dramatic, concerned. There's a difference. Queen Elizabeth had spent decades managing family crises that threatened the monarchy's image, from Princess Margaret's relationship controversies to the collapse of Charles and Diana's marriage. She understood something most people around her eventually learned the hard way. Personal tensions inside the royal family never stay private for long, and by late 2018, those tensions were becoming impossible to contain. Reports began surfacing about disagreements between Prince William and Prince Harry. Stories appeared suggesting Kensington Palace had become divided. Eventually, Harry and Meghan separated their household from William and Catherine's operation entirely. At the time, palace officials publicly downplayed the significance, but royal reporters noticed the shift immediately. Charlotte Griffiths later discussed how unusual the atmosphere had become around the two couples. The so-called Fab Four image that had once seemed central to the monarchy's future was quietly unraveling in front of the public. And according to several royal commentators, Queen Elizabeth understood the seriousness of that far earlier than most people realized. What mattered to the Queen was stability, order, duty, containment. Those close to the institution often describe Elizabeth as someone who disliked emotional chaos spilling into public view. She believed disagreements should be handled privately and carefully, not through media leaks or public confrontation. That philosophy became especially important after Harry and Meghan's relationship with the press collapsed. By 2019, stories about alleged tensions between Meghan and palace staff were dominating headlines. Anonymous briefings appeared everywhere. Supporters of Meghan believed she was being unfairly targeted by sections of the British media. Critics argued palace traditions were being rejected too aggressively. The divide became global, and the Queen found herself trapped between generations. On one side stood William and Catherine, increasingly viewed by palace insiders as the dependable future of the monarchy. On the other stood Harry and Meghan, enormously popular internationally, but increasingly disconnected from palace structures and expectations. According to royal reporting at the time, Elizabeth's approach was cautious, deliberate. She avoided public escalation whenever possible. That restraint became even more noticeable during the Sandringham summit in January 2020. Harry and Meghan had announced they intended to step back from senior royal duties. The statement shocked palace officials and reportedly blindsided senior family members. Newspapers described it as a constitutional crisis inside the monarchy. And yet, when the Queen released her response, the language was remarkably measured. She spoke of Harry, Meghan, and Archie remaining much-loved family members. No attack, no emotional retaliation, just controlled disappointment wrapped in diplomacy. Charlotte Griffiths and other royal commentators later pointed to moments like this as examples of how Elizabeth handled family conflict differently from the generations around her. She rarely escalated publicly. Instead, she used carefully chosen language to send signals without creating open warfare. But behind palace walls, the emotional strain was reportedly becoming impossible to ignore. According to several royal biographers, Prince William had grown increasingly frustrated with the pace of Harry and Meghan's relationship long before the wedding itself. Reports later suggested William urged Harry not to rush into marriage so quickly after meeting Meghan in 2016. Harry interpreted that concern very differently. In Spare, he described feeling unsupported and judged by parts of the institution he once trusted completely. And from that point onward, even ordinary disagreements reportedly began carrying emotional weight far beyond the issue itself. That matters because the Queen understood family dynamics better than almost anyone alive. She had watched generations of royal relationships collapse under pressure. She saw how media attention could distort personal conflicts until they became impossible to repair publicly. The monarchy had survived scandals before, but the emotional damage inside families often lasted much longer than headlines. By early 2020, the palace was dealing with a crisis unlike anything Elizabeth had faced in years. Harry and Meghan were preparing to leave royal life entirely, while public sympathy split sharply across the world. In Britain, many commentators viewed the departure as a rejection of duty. In the United States, Meghan and Harry often received far more supportive coverage, especially regarding media treatment and mental health concerns. Suddenly, the monarchy wasn't just facing a family disagreement, it was facing a global cultural divide, and the Queen had to navigate it while protecting the institution she had spent her entire life defending. That pressure became even heavier after the Oprah interview. In March 2021, Harry and Meghan's televised interview with Oprah Winfrey triggered one of the largest royal media storms in decades. Allegations involving race, mental health, media pressure, and palace support dominated headlines worldwide. Then came the palace response: short, controlled, historic. The whole family is saddened to learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan. And then the line that immediately became global news. Some recollections may vary. Just 4 words. But according to royal observers, those 4 words carried enormous weight. Charlotte Griffiths later discussed how unusual it was for Buckingham Palace to respond with language that subtle yet unmistakably firm. The statement avoided direct confrontation while quietly disputing parts of Harry and Meghan's version of events. That was classic Elizabeth. No shouting, no emotional public collapse, no dramatic counterattack, just precision. And behind palace walls, many believe the Queen had personally approved every word. Royal insiders later claimed debates inside the palace lasted for hours before that statement was finalized. Some reportedly wanted a softer response. Others believed stronger language was necessary. In the end, the final version sounded unmistakably like Elizabeth's style, restrained, formal, but impossible to misunderstand. What made the situation even more painful was the emotional contrast unfolding inside the monarchy at that exact moment. While Harry and Meghan were publicly describing feelings of isolation and lack of support, Catherine's public role inside the institution was growing stronger than ever. Her image became closely associated with continuity, discipline, and stability. In many ways, Catherine represented the kind of royal figure Elizabeth deeply understood: reserved, careful, consistent. That doesn't mean the Queen sided against Meghan in some dramatic personal sense. There's no verified evidence of that. But several royal commentators have suggested the Queen likely felt increasingly worried about how impossible reconciliation was becoming between the couples, especially between William and Harry. Because underneath the Meghan and Catherine headlines was an even larger fracture, the breakdown of the brothers' relationship. And according to reports surrounding Prince Philip's funeral in April 2021, the Queen was still trying to encourage some form of healing even then. Images from that funeral became symbolic for many royal watchers. Harry walking behind Philip's coffin beside William once again. Catherine briefly speaking with Harry after the service. The family appearing united publicly, while enormous tensions still existed privately. The Queen sat alone in St. George's Chapel because of pandemic restrictions. One image captured the entire emotional atmosphere surrounding the monarchy at that moment. Duty surrounded by silence. And according to several commentators, Elizabeth's private grief during that period may have deepened her desire to see the family reconcile before it was too late. For decades, Philip had been the one person she could fully rely on behind palace walls. Losing him while family tensions escalated publicly created an emotional backdrop many royal observers believe profoundly affected her final years. Yet even during those deeply personal moments, the Queen's public appearances remained disciplined, measured, composed. That silence may explain why Elizabeth's words during these years still carry so much fascination. Because she rarely gave emotional interviews. She rarely revealed private feelings publicly. People searched for meaning in small gestures, brief statements, even seating arrangements. Royal commentators like Charlotte Griffiths understood that. They understood the Queen communicated differently from modern public figures. Sometimes what mattered most was what she chose not to say. By the time Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee arrived in 2022, the distance inside the family still felt unresolved. Harry and Meghan attended events but remained largely separate from senior working royals. Public interactions were brief, controlled. Observers noticed the body language immediately. No public confrontation, no scenes, but also no clear sign that the emotional wounds had healed. Then, just months later, the Queen died. And suddenly, the entire story changed again. The images from her funeral stunned people around the world. William and Catherine standing beside Harry and Meghan outside Windsor Castle. The walkabout, the temporary reunion. the visible tension mixed with grief. For a moment, many wondered whether Elizabeth's death might finally heal the divide she had spent years trying to contain. Even the decision for the four royals to appear together reportedly required careful coordination behind the scenes. According to royal reporting, Prince William personally invited Harry and Meghan to join the walkabout outside Windsor after the Queen's death. The appearance surprised many palace insiders because tensions reportedly remained extremely high at the time. And yet, for a brief moment, the public saw something that looked almost like reconciliation. Not complete peace, but pause. A temporary truce, shaped by grief. Still, the calm did not last long, the release of Harry's memoir. Spare, in 2023, reopened many wounds publicly. Private disagreements became global headlines again. Arguments between brothers, emotional confrontations, feelings of betrayal. And once more, people returned to the same question. What had the Queen really thought during all of this? That question continues driving endless documentaries, books, interviews, and royal commentary because Elizabeth represented more than a monarch to many people. She represented continuity itself, a figure trying to hold together a rapidly changing institution while family relationships fractured under global scrutiny. Charlotte Griffiths and other royal commentators have repeatedly pointed toward the same underlying truth. The Queen understood that the real danger wasn't one argument, or one interview, or one headline. It was permanent division. Because once trust disappears inside the royal family, history suggests the damage can last for generations. That's what made the Meghan and Catherine rift feel so significant to royal watchers around the world. It wasn't simply about personality clashes or media narratives. It symbolized two completely different visions of royal life colliding inside the same institution. One built around tradition, caution, and hierarchy. The other pushing toward emotional openness, independence, and modern celebrity culture. And Queen Elizabeth stood directly in the middle of that collision during the final years of her reign. Not loudly, not dramatically, but carefully, quietly, watching every word. Years later, people still analyze those words because they may reveal more about the monarchy's future than anyone realized at the time, especially the simplest ones. Some recollections may vary. 4 words that sounded polite on the surface, yet according to many royal observers, they revealed a queen deeply aware that the family crisis unfolding around her had already changed the monarchy forever. And perhaps the most remarkable part is this. Even now, long after Elizabeth's death, the questions she left behind still shape every conversation surrounding Harry, Meghan, William, and Catherine. Because the real story was never just about a bridesmaid dress. It was about what happens when private family pain collides with 1,000 years of royal expectation. And the consequences of that collision may still be unfolding today. If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe to Royal Archives for more thoughtful royal stories exploring the private moments, hidden tensions, and quiet decisions that shape the monarchy behind palace walls.